Hey, Alex Breckenridge.
Hey, Michael Weatherly.
What did you want to be in a sort of fantasy world of the Breckenridge?
I definitely always wanted to be an actress, but I didn't know what that meant. And I was pretty obsessed with film and music from a very early age. I was obsessed with music. I think everything about those two art forms um, was my escape. And that's true for a lot of people. It's true for most people. Um, but it felt like, the joy that I received when listening to my favorite music and creating dance routines at home or watching my favorite movies was so huge that I think by the time I became 11 or 12, that's when I was like, oh, I can maybe do this. So I started doing theater, and then it went from there to actual acting classes, and then actually meeting with an agent by the time I was about, well, actually I did have an agent in San Francisco when I lived up in Marin County. Um I didn't do very well because I was very green. I didn't know what I was doing. So I'd go on these like commercial cattle calls, and I would be very intimidated by everybody and kind of terrified. Um but but then I went down to Los Angeles and I got an agent with a monologue, and I started working at 15.
Okay, what was the monologue?
Um it was called The Runaway. It was about this child that had run away, and she was telling a story about her horrible upbringing. And she was going back into, and I had taken a monologue class at ACT in San Francisco. And so that was the monologue that I did in that class. I don't know how I got the monologue. I don't know if I like chose it from a book that they had or whatever.
Yeah.
Tried in the monologue, at 14 years old in this at the Savage Agency. And they were like, yes, we will take you on as soon as you are living in Los Angeles.
And what you didn't realize is that you would be crying for the next 30 years of your life.
Yes. 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 I was like, that was really hard. And I don't know how I did that. And I don't know if I can do it again, but I'm
We'll pay
just
you
gonna.
lots of money if you can.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I think that, yeah, subsequently, a lot of the times that I was able to cry in auditions or at work was mostly due to like insecurity and being terrified I'd be fired or not get a job. Right.
Well, you know my saying, God bless you. My saying is you don't become an actor because things went well growing up.
Not usually. No.
It's kind of hard to meet like you see someone like Ryan Reynolds and you're like, there must be some damage. There's something had to go wrong.
Yes.
Something's
Well,
got to, or Jason Bateman, you're like, I know there's got to be something terrible there.
it could be, it doesn't have to even be that terrible. It could just be the like somebody has a natural they have very good timing, and they're very funny, and they receive adoration from their friends and family when they're funny, and so that kind of like grows, and maybe they're not getting enough of that from their parents, and so they continue to try to do that, and then they realize, oh, this is how I can receive love. Like maybe their parents don't say I love you, or they don't give them hugs, or it could be something which seemingly it sounds kind of small, but it is huge, of course. But it's not like any real abuse necessarily, right?
Sure,
But
sure.
it is big if your parents aren't telling you that they love you, but they're suddenly like enamored with you when you can make them laugh, then you're gonna want to make everybody laugh.
Well, for the people who don't know, you and I are related.
We're
Hi,
related.
Granny. Hi,
Hi,
Granny.
Granny.
So your mother was my sister,
Yes, half
and it
sister,
gets
half.
half sister, and it gets
Um,
more complicated if we want to go into the cobwebs of that haunted house. But
yeah,
there's no
no.
no reason for us to do that in front of everybody. It's enough for us to do it under the trees in Jamaica with you know, half a bottle of rum between us.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, not yet anyway.
yeah.
Maybe
Well,
later.
hello.
Maybe we wait until later.
Hmm. More gray hair.
Yeah.
I'm still holding on to somebody the other day said, you don't have to dye your hair. I said, I don't dye my hair. And they were like, oh, come on. I said, I have dyed my hair, but like
Yes.
back when I did Charlie Valentine in 2008, but I don't dye my head. I kind of like having a little bit of it come in there. And I got
It
some,
looks, you can't tell on here. It looks brown. I can't
yeah,
tell that you have gray. I have gray
lighting is everything.
all over the place.
So, so you and I are related, and
Mhm.
I wanted to, if we could share a little anecdote about you coming to visit me on my first contract job in New York City, and if you wanted to talk about that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that was pretty formative. I mean, it was probably one of the best days that I had had in a very long time. Uh, it was my 10th birthday. So that was 1992. I mean, so gracious of you to invite myself and my mother, and I don't know how you were getting along with her at the time, um, to invite us for my birthday down to see the set of Loving.
Loving. So you come to the set of Loving
So I
in
come to the set of
1992.
Loving. We walked around the whole area. I mean, we even went to the newscasting room or whatever.
The local news, I think it was the CBS New York local news. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And at that age, of course, I don't think I never took time to picture what a set would look like. I never took time to realize that it would be like half of a room and not like a full room. Um and so it was all really fascinating to me. And then we went to Tavern on the Green for lunch. So it was like super fancy and swanky.
Okay.
I don't even know if that's there anymore. I think it's closed. But what a beautiful restaurant.
Insert picture
And
here of Alex and I at Tavern on the Green.
yes,
There
yes.
is a
And
photo.
there's several photos. And there's several photos of you being a complete goofball.
Things have
You were
changed.
like, you had, yeah, you put a napkin on your head, and then you were doing the silver eyes with the spoons.
Yeah. So
And
that's called social discomfort.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I now fully understand. At the time I was blissfully unaware.
Yeah. You're like, oh, my funny Uncle Michael.
Yes. Yes, totally 100%. I mean,
Yeah.
you are so amazing with children. I was always like, oh, when he has kids, they're going to be lucky because they're going to have the funny dad.
Mm. You can ask my son August. He's like, not that funny. Because I remember I tried to play a song for August during his 10th birthday, and his face was stricken, because I was making up lyrics about his friends
It was
and about dinosaurs or whatever the heck it
See,
was.
I love that you used to do that to me growing up, and I thought it was the best thing ever. I could
I
not
think
even
it's a better it's
imagine how
it's
you
a
could
better
come up
trait
with
in an
those.
in an uncle.
It is,
Maybe,
yes,
yeah,
as
uncle
opposed
dad,
to a
right.
dad. Like my kids don't want to hear Casey play guitar, really. They're like not
No.
interested.
And
But
he's one of the best guitar players on the planet. And they're like,
yeah,
whatever. That's like Daniel Day-Lewis walks into the room and he's like, would anyone like to hear me recite some of the poetry I've been working on? And they're like, oh, Dad, it's so boring. Like, do we have to watch There Will Be Blood again, you and
Mhm.
Mom?
Yeah.
Okay, so walk me through, like, jump me through the years. So
But you know what I just remembered is that I think before this, in this time when it was either before or after. See, I thought it was when I was around 9 or so when I met with your manager in New York.
yeah, could have been.
And I had no experience acting at all. But I was
But you
just
were
like,
you were feisty though.
I was feisty. I'm sure I was feisty.
You've been feisty from the jump, Alex.
I'm sure. I mean, I don't remember what I was like, but I can only imagine based on how I am now. But yeah, I met with her, and I read some scene. And I just remember being completely terrified because I had to read the scene. And to me, I had like slight dyslexia. So it was really hard for me to learn how to read to begin with. And so reading out loud to anyone was terrifying, and I always felt very insecure about it. And so I was always scared that I was going to, screw something up or just start reading really slowly. Um, but I read for her, and I remember my mother saying, she's interested in taking you on. And I thought about it for a minute. And then I said, you know what? I don't think I'm ready for that. And I think it was mostly based upon the fact that I realized that I was going to have to read for
Yeah.
people for a living.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think I can do that. And I just said, I think I want just want to be a kid for a little while longer. And so,
Well, not that much longer because you
well,
definitely
I didn't
had
know.
you didn't know what was coming, but
I didn't
but
know it was
but
coming.
you kind of it's really interesting to me how you did a whole host of jobs when you were young, 12, 13, 14, like, right?
15. I
Oh,
started
15.
working at 15. Yeah.
Okay, so 15.
My first job was a commercial. It was a Game Boy Pocket commercial, which is what it was called at the time.
And
Game Boy
wasn't there
Pocket.
some kind of like creeper thing or some kind of
I did a pilot for a R.L. Stein book. Yeah.
that's what it was.
For
And
ABC
then
called Ghosts of Fear Street.
and did you do a Geeks and Freaks?
I did a Freaks and Geeks
Sorry.
episode around the age of 17, but I had done a couple other pilots prior to that. I did an MTV pilot prior to that. I did a print ad for some Sony cellular phone.
Did you
Um,
do Orange? Did you do Orange County? Or am I wrong
I
with that?
did. I did actually because I originally was reading for Freaks and Geeks for the two different female roles, Linda Cardellini's role and what's her name? She's blonde. The other girl. Anyway, I read for both of those parts. And I guess, they liked me, but not necessarily for those roles. That's why they brought me back to do Freaks and Geeks as a guest star. And they also had me do a very small part in Orange County, but they ended up cutting that and just putting it on the DVD.
So let me ask you a question. When you look back and now, and you have this sort of the benefit of, when you're in the midst of your pattern, your arc, your life, as the cards are being dealt in whatever scenario we're in, it's very hard to sort of discern any shape or anything to what's going on because it just feels like a fucking chaotic mess sometimes.
It's just all
Um,
happening at, yeah.
but you can look back now and you can kind of see the span of things and you can say, oh, when you look back, because I know you were a waitress in Los Feliz or wherever you were over there, and you did
Yes.
lots of different jobs while
Waitress
you
at
were
Fred
working.
62.
Fred,
Almost waitress at the 101 Cafe, which is like an iconic cafe, 101 Cafe, and delivered
I
chicken. So
del- did you deliver live chickens?
I delivered rotisserie chicken and hot wings for Big Wang's Wings. Yes.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yes.
Big Wang's Wings had
Big
Alex
Wang's Wings.
Breckenridge.
And so whenever I'm working on a show and they have me, I'm supposed to be driving. And for some reason, and I think this is a female thing, but maybe not. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it. Whenever I'm in a set car and I'm just riding up or I'm backing up a car, and they're all trying to micromanage my driving, and I'm just like, I got it, please. Till I'm backing up, and then I drive in and I hit the mark, always hit the mark, and everybody's like, wow, really good job driving. I'm like, I used to deliver hot wings in Los Angeles with a stick shift, so
Right.
thank you. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I do know how to drive.
You do know how to drive.
I do know how to drive.
That is for sure. And you can drive a stick. I think that's the most important. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, I know how to drive. It's like, no, no, no. Do you know how to pop the clutch? Um,
Yeah, that's it. I think everybody should know how to do that, even
yeah.
though
I mean, when was the first time you lived outside of your house?
I moved out when I was 17. Yeah. And I lived in a house that was dirt cheap. I think it was $80 a month. It's a complicated story. A friend of mine's
That's
mother
in, hold on.
inherited this house.
That's
And
in
so
Bel Air. That was in Bel Air.
no, it was up Laurel Canyon.
Yeah.
So
It was up somebody's canyon.
no,
that
no,
was
no,
a
no,
bad
no.
house. $80 a month. Jeez.
No, no, no. It was actually like a trailer home. with an
Sure.
added on portion. And the person who had lived in this house prior died. And my friend's mother was the one who had been taking care of him. So she sort of inherited part of the house. And so her daughter moved in. And I was like, please, I got to get out of my house. Like my mom's driving me bananas. Obviously, I had run away at the age of 16. So I was like, I need to get out of here, like now. So I lived there and then the house burnt down.
It's the mean business of life.
Mm-hmm.
It's how you kind of deal with it in the moment, try
Mm-hmm.
to overcome it. But then when you're where you are now, looking back, how do you, what's that self mythology look like to you? How do you tell yourself that story about yourself?
It's an interesting question and an interesting way to put it. You know, most of the time I'll have these like flashes of memories that come back to me of things that went on in my life before I think I was like found myself, so to speak. Because I was really just a mess and a product of my mother's dysfunction for a long time. And so when I look back at it, I see a person that wasn't necessarily fully formed yet, making really bad decisions, but still somehow had enough of my self worth and um, self awareness to continuously push through it and push forward. In certain at certain times, there was definitely certain times where I was completely self destructive and was like, everybody, whatever, go fuck off. Um, and then I would sort of come to and I'd be like, wait, this is my life. This is my life, and I'm going to make it what I want it to be, and not just fall under what presumably would be happening to me given my circumstances. So I just a lot of people will say, trauma and all of these things, it's it makes you who you are, it makes you stronger. And I think of course there's something to that, but at the same time when I look back, the amount of trauma and bullshit that I had to push through just to get here, and then the amount of residual shit that I have to deal with still from that time period just emotionally, I feel like I could be so much further in myself and my career had even like half of that shit not happen. Like if I had just been given just a little bit less death, a little bit less fucking drama, a little bit less like, and so I used to sort of wear it as like a badge of, like strength and like, wow, look what I have overcome. And I still do, but now I'm sort of like, what? I actually kind of would have been fine if that not had happened. Like, how would it be if I was, in a little bit more of a functional household? I don't think every household is functional. I think probably most of them aren't. But, you know,
Yours was a particular, certain,
particularly bad.
correct.
There's a trauma test you can take, and ranking a 7 out of 10 is really not great. And so it's really like, and most of those people end up with like heart disease and cancer at some point, which I guess everybody ends up with something. Um, but yeah, so I look at a lot of that, a lot of my past in this way of just like I'm kind of I'm I'm sad for my younger self and what she had to go through. But
Interesting.
I'm
That,
happy to
right.
be here now, and I'm happy that I always had the fortitude to punch through whatever wall I was faced with, because I was always faced with a wall. I mean, fuck. Like
Yeah.
every time it felt like I was like getting so that's why like I actually get anxiety and like nervous. Like right now, everything is kind of okay, which is
Oh yeah.
terrifying.
Oh, I have the same problem. That one
I'm like,
bothers me
what's
too.
gonna happen?
Yeah. You attract wonderful, beautiful people to you,
Oh,
like a
thank you.
moth to the flame.
Hmm.
And you also know how to have fun, and you are a fun human. And and I don't think those two things necessarily are going hand in glove. I don't think you're only attractive to all these people because you're fun. I think
No,
it's
because
because
I'm not particularly outgoing with people I don't know. I'm a slow
right.
burn and I have to like get to know somebody to let them in my force field.
You did something for me, which I don't, and again, this is about unintended consequences. And the when you're in the midst of a mess, you don't see the beauty of the gifts that come to you.
Oh,
Um,
but I can look back, of course, and see, that bonding time for us was so big in our relationship,
yeah,
and having a family member that's does the same work is so like what a gift because this is such an odd job. Nobody outside of the industry understands it. And if you have a family member that you get along with, I
right.
think we get along really well. And so and we have a similar sense of humor and sensibility that like it just sort of brought us together during a time that like what a gift,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? I'm just like so grateful for you literally saving me at that time. Oh,
Well,
sorry, I was cutting you off. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that your presence gave me this insight, my loneliness, and
Oh,
how cut off I was, how I was all about work. I was on this treadmill of make the television. I was trying to figure out in my mid 30s, late 30s, is there a way that how can I do something else in the career, and how can I, and I was trying to be a dad to August, but I was also trying to figure out, like, are there movies? Is there other stuff? Like, and that time that I spent with you, the penny dropped. And
mhm.
also David McCallum, who played Ducky on NCIS, his he had I won't get into what happened, but he had a thing happen in his life where he made it clear that his spouse and his life was the thing that was the central aspect of his existence, not the job.
Right.
And I lived only for the job.
Yeah.
And you and I went to Australia in 2007 to the Logies, and we had so much fun. We met cute insert photo here of
Insert
Alex and
photo
I on the
here of
green
cute
carpet.
Australian peoples.
Right, exactly. We were both single.
Or us being
No,
on the red carpet and everybody's being like, "Oh yeah, she's your niece, is she?"
oh,
And
yeah.
we were like, "Oh God,
Uncle
please."
Michael.
We were
Right.
both so grossed out. We're like, "Please, no, 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 really, a little."
Yeah. Yeah. It was a little weird. That's like, yeah. But I came back from that trip to Australia with you, and I met Boyana the next month.
Hmm.
And I don't believe that these accidents, I think I became aware of what I didn't have. And by the way, it wasn't going to be easy. And I'm by no means an easy human. And I have I mean, I think you and I both admit to our, hmm,
Baggage?
we're not easy to live with
Oh no, I would
sometimes,
never claim to be easy to live with.
especially for really normal people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, do you think our spouses are super normal? I mean, I
Well,
guess Casey's a little
I
more
mean,
normal than I am, I suppose.
yeah, well, that's the thing about normal people, the normies,
Sure.
as we call them.
Yeah.
So they weren't so fucked up that they became actors, but your husband did become a musician. So he was fucked up enough to become a guitar player.
Yeah. Yeah, but not
You know what?
but not a
We'll
singer.
that's true. Oh,
Very
that's different.
different.
I won't say the name of any singer that you may or may not have dated, just so that we don't have to get
Oh
into that.
yeah.
Uh, so wait, sometimes I sing. Wow, that's a double. I'm like but you know what? I'm not a successful singer, so that's
You're a
important.
singer.
And
No,
I
I
don't.
know. Well, I mean, I didn't want to say
I'm
anything. I
more of
didn't
a.
want to
I'm
add
more of a
insult to
crooner.
injury here about the fact that you're an actor and a singer. And I'm like,
Oh, yeah. I'm more of an entertainer.
yes, you are. Well, as I said earlier at the beginning, I said you're a storyteller.
Hmm. I
which
know.
is what an actor does and what a musician does is they tell stories,
Yeah. That's why we
really,
that's why we're
at the
calling
base level.
that's why we're calling this thing pulling the thread
Hmm.
because the thread of the sweater, if you pull it too hard, the whole sweater comes undone. God forbid. Um, but any thread of a story is immediately of interest to me because I'm anecdotal and I
Hmm.
go for it.
Hmm.
And I really like how patterns emerge because I think that life has this great spiral pattern that the really genius people see that pattern when they're in the middle of it.
Totally.
And every once in a while in my life, I have known that I'm in the middle of it. I have felt the swirl around me, and
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, like a pitcher in baseball pitching a perfect game,
Hmm.
where everything just slows down just enough for you to really know, oh, I'm nailing this.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah,
it's a
I
it's
had
a
some
beautiful thing.
realizations the other day in conversation about some things, and I was like, oh, oh. My sister was in town just
Oh
now,
yes.
and yeah, and that was the first time we had hung out separate from the rest of the family as adults. So she's turning 25 and she's now like aware and she gets it now in a way that she never got it before, right? So we were very separated by the 17 years of age gap that we had.
Mhm.
And yeah, had some moments, we had some realizations. It was great. It was a great time.
Yeah, I guess what it is sometimes. So when you're doing your flicks of the net and you are telling the River of the Virgin stories, um,
Ain't no virgins on that river, I'll tell you that
yeah,
much.
it's the River of Hussies, um, but
We call it Slutty River
but when
sometimes as a
Slutty
joke in the
River,
background.
right?
Yeah. Just
Oh,
just
River.
just amongst us on the set, you know.
Sure. Well, not
Not
anymore.
anymore. It's
No, we'll
fine.
we'll 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 cut this bit out.
It's cute. No,
Um,
I don't care. Who cares?
you know what? The more I stay alive, the more I think, who cares?
Yeah.
Um,
Who cares?
so when you start, so this is the funniest thing to me because when I was doing the Mystery of Natalie Wood back in Australia in the in the Hinter years, when I thought I was never going to work again and that things were not going well, and they said there's this last pilot left, literally like the last thing at the bar, like a gutter shot. There's no alcohol left, but we'll take all the alcohol from the gutter and swipe it into a shot glass for you. And you're like, I'll drink it, right?
Really, I guess so.
Um, that was the pilot of NCIS. To me, at that time, in my head, it wasn't actually the pilot. The pilot was a highly esteemed, like highly sought after thing. But in this brain,
Mm-hmm.
because it's all about how we are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm fucked. I suck. This is no good. I'm not gonna, no one wants to hire me. It's the
Yes.
worst.
I had the
And
same issue. Yeah.
the negative loop that I got into was so hard
Mhm.
that I became a terrorist on that show, an acting terrorist. I was like, I didn't know my lines. I didn't care. I was ad-libbing. I was and it created a character.
Hmm.
Right? So in a way, through all that accidental nonsense, it's kind of like getting lost in a city and you wander into a bar and make a best friend for life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wandered into that pilot and I got a job that literally I'm going to Budapest to
I
make
know.
another
So
like
wild.
20 years later
It's so
with this
wild.
character. It's the wildest.
It's the
So
thing that you stumbled into. Virgin River is exactly that for me as well. I stumbled into it because I broke and I had, a husband and two kids, and my husband had left his job because we thought that I had a job. But then I got let go from that job.
I remember
And
that
then we
job.
had two houses, LA, because I was working there, and Georgia. And then I was like, I'm gonna go broke any second. And they offered me this role, which
Hmm.
I normally would not have taken. And I've said that before. It's not a problem. I just to say that, I just was looking for something more complex in terms of like sci-fi show, or like I've been doing so many horror shows or something,
Right, because you
a
did
little
True
more
Blood,
edgy.
you did True Blood,
Yes,
you did Walking Dead, you did what?
American Horror Story. So
American Horror Story, right?
I was looking for something, and I had just done This Is Us. So I was looking for something more edgy and not looking for Virgin River. And Virgin River just happened. And I was like, well, I'll go do this season, make some money so we can survive. And it won't get picked up again because it's Netflix and they drop everything. And then lo and behold, here I am making season 6, and like, you know,
Cheers
no
to you.
signs of stopping.
Cheers to you.
So
Cheers to you.
cheers to you too, because I think it's quite funny that both of us ended up stumbling to jobs we didn't know that we needed or wanted, and then they became actually defining jobs for both of us.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Isn't there a Rolling Stones song about that?
Which one is
You
that one?
can't always get what you want.
But if you try sometimes.
You get what you need.
Yes. My Rolling Stone song is Emotional Rescue because I when I got that's my first album I ever bought was the Rolling that it was the titular song from that album,
Oh,
Emotional
wow.
Rescue. I bought that on cassette and vinyl
You loved it so much.
because I was flush. Uh, and I had a boombox that I put on the rat trap on the back of my bike, and I rode my bike around listening to
Oh my God.
Emotional Rescue.
That's so good.
Yeah,
That's so good.
I and I wore sunglasses and my Rolling Stones t-shirt, and I was 13, and fuck you. I
Yeah.
am listening to the Rolling Stones in Southport, Connecticut. Try and stop me. You can't stop me. I'm a punk in
Was my
Southport,
mom listening to
Connecticut.
that too? You
I'm
were,
sure
yeah.
I'm sure she was, but your mom at that time, um, in 1981, I think was busy conceiving you. Uh, it might have been the fall of 81.
Yeah. No, it would, yeah.
I think she was in college.
It
Uh,
would have been August because May is 9 months
oh,
from August.
oh yeah. All right. Yeah, well,
She was in college because as the story goes.
I know, I know, but your mom, her musical taste was impeccable. Can we just say, like, not a bad record in that collection, not a fucking stinker anywhere.
No,
No
yeah.
John Denver anywhere in that thing. It was, it was David Bowie, Rolling Stones, Grateful Dead, but also like some esoteric
Elton
stuff and
John,
Elton John.
Jimmy Cliff.
I have your mom's Elton John songbook here with her name in it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'll give that to you the next time you come up here.
You
It's a
don't have to give it
beautiful,
to me. That's fine. You can hang on to
well,
that.
might be nice for your daughter to learn to play
She's
piano.
6. She doesn't know yet. She does play piano. She does. She asks about my mom, which is really interesting. She's intrigued. She's intrigued about this notion, about the fact that my mother passed away. And she's like, so your mom died. When did she die? And I think it probably is scary for her.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey kids, what you got moving? All
Oh, yeah.
right, look at
I
this.
couldn't hear so when you do that, by the way, just so you know for the future, Michael.
Look.
Oh, look at that. Oh, Nan Breckenridge. Oh my God. We have this. Oh my God. I have my mother's spelling. That's terrifying. Um,
Oh, when I go
like
away,
we
you can't hear anything. I know.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, no. I couldn't hear the piano back there from back there. But oh,
They'll add it in post, and it'll make it seem like I can actually play.
you can play. You can play very well.
By the way, what time is it? I have to pick up my son at 6:45.
Oh, it's 4 here. 4. Oh, I think you missed that.
Hmm. Maybe it's later than that. Where
Did
did I put my
somebody
phone?
else pick him up? I hope.
No, he's all right. Hold on. Where did I put my phone?
I mean, it's 4:09 my time. So,
Ah, we got another 10 minutes.
uh, are you sure? Do you need to call somebody?
Nah, it's gonna be fun. So here's the like the other little aspect that I wanted to like close in on, and it's a great place to finish. So work-life balance.
Ha.
How
That's
you
what I
doing?
have to say about that. I have to say, pa.
How you doing? Because I'm about to move to Budapest
I
and
know.
be away.
It's really
And
far.
I, and when I went away to do bowl, the kids were 2 and 3 or whatever, 3 and 4. Like they were so little that I could kind of get away with it,
Mm-hmm.
but they're my dude now.
Yeah.
It's gonna be they're gonna be home and they're gonna have their routine and their friends and their thing and they're gonna be like, oh, where's dad? Oh, I miss dad a little bit. And I'm gonna be sitting in a hotel room like, uh, like
Are you
going,
staying in a hotel?
um, I think I'm gonna stay in a hotel, probably. Yeah.
Really? I wouldn't see. So, I mean, I don't know how you are in hotels. I feel,
I want the gym. I want the gym next to me because I've become a little bit of a gym rat. Can't you tell?
yeah, I know you've been working out all the time. It's awesome. But can't you,
I
you could
do.
stay in a building that has a gym. I just, my experience, and I don't know. I mean, you haven't stayed. I mean, the last time you stayed in a hotel was Vancouver when you were doing Dark Angel. So that was a long time ago, and you had somebody you were with at the time. I find personally to be away from family and be in a hotel like that, it's very isolating and it feels very it becomes depressing for me because
Right.
when I was back doing This Is Us for that final season in LA, and I would go and come back when I could, but I was staying in hotels and it was I just I know I mean it was also the city and being back in the city and being back to like around the old haunts and sort of like
Yeah.
that I think that stuff coming up, but I do think that hotel rooms are so non-personal. It's just like,
What if I called it a suite?
well, I'm sure that's nicer than a hotel room. If it's a suite, I'm sure it's much nicer, a nicer experience for you. What's the travel time going to be like for you to get home?
It's pretty epic because you got to go Budapest to either Munich or Vienna or London or something, and then there's a one stop before you get back to New York.
Yeah. And that's what is that more than 10 hours or
Yeah, a door to door, it's definitely in the 12 to 14 zone.
right? I mean, it's even far for me to go back home from here from Vancouver. I'm trying to get
Yeah, but
home this
and
weekend.
my time changes 6 hours.
Yeah. See, the time change too will just screw you all up. But work-life
I'm
balance,
ready for it. You know
honestly,
why? Because they're gonna put this incredible show on television, well, on Paramount Plus, which I regard as television,
yes, it is.
that I have been dreaming of doing for so long. And I don't know if you've ever had a kind of dream show that you've wanted to do, but this is the show. I never even wanted to be James Bond because he's British. I would be mad if they cast me as James Bond. I would never have wanted that. James Bond is British. I love Daniel Craig. I love Roger Moore. I love Pierce Brosnan. I love Timothy Dalton. I love George Lazenby.
Yeah,
Australian, but still, sort of British. Well, he's not British. I understand. Don't be mad
right.
at me.
British.
But,
Just a
um,
little.
but Sean Connery, Scottish. It's
Yeah.
like this is actually the culmination of like cool shit
Yes.
that I'm going to get to do.
You've been working
So
at getting this thing picked up for years. I
I
mean,
have been working on it for years.
like
Yes, I
I
have.
want to say 5 years. I don't even know. You've been talking about this for a while and it seemed like it was going to happen and then it sort of went away and then all of a sudden it was like it's happening. Or, I mean, at least from my perspective, that's sort of what went down. I'm sure there was a lot more intricacy on your side that I just didn't know about. Um, but no, I mean, that's like incredible. And I think that, um, so you've been home now for over a year from working nonstop for,
2 years.
oh, 2 years. Okay. So 2 years you've been home and you've gotten into a routine with your family after working the whole time. So you've been working before you had a family, and then once you had a family, and you've never really stopped until now. And I hadn't stopped much either, since I had my children. And so I took the last year off because I had no choice, right? No
We had a
choice.
strike. Right.
Yeah, we had a strike. And what I found was, it was a beautiful time for me to get away from the industry and actually connect with my family. And I know that it's, well, I know, and I feel like that's been your experience as well, being home and being able to really bond with your kids and your wife. And it's such a different experience than like having to go to work. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you
And
don't get that, like that time, because it's kind of like, it's like cut up into pieces, because your mind is wrapped around going to work or having to go to work or what you're about to do. And you don't have time to like be home and connect in a different level and a different way. So what I've found coming back to work was I was really concerned with the fact, with just having been bonded to my kids in a way that hadn't happened before. Also, their ages developmentally, it's just different as they get older. They're
yeah.
like coming into their own, they're more mature, they can have a conversation with you. It's just different. And I'm sure, well, your kids are older than mine, so just like what a different place they're in, and what a different level of communication you can have with them.
And they're only
And
going to be this age for this period of time. And then boom.
yeah,
So it's like, it's not like,
yeah,
well, next year we'll do Halloween. No, he's
I
10.
know.
There is no going to be no more Halloween,
I
but you miss
know. Yeah.
Halloween this year and you miss every Halloween forevermore. So yeah, I think that's definitely where I'm at. This,
It's hard. I mean, I think it's like it has to be a matter of like, they come and visit. You have a chunk, have a time when you go visit. They have a time when they come visit. So what I try to do is every 3 to 4 weeks, because my schedule just doesn't allow for anything more than that. And
I
to
know.
I
And I
had
know
to
you used to do
fight.
it different. I know that, Case would come out and there would be
They would come out,
longer,
but they weren't in school then.
right?
Right? Like your kids start going to school and they're in a routine, and that's what they thrive on. And it's like, whether or not you're there, that at least they're at home and they're thriving because they're in a routine, and they have their friends, and they have an environment that they feel safe in, and they can, they have daily activities and all that stuff. Like if they come out here, they don't have any of that. What are
And
they going to do? They
mommy,
got to figure it out day to day. Go to
and
the fucking
mommy,
park.
mommy is churning, burning, and earning. She's out there in the couve doing her thing.
Yes.
But also, and my friend Sasha Alexander, who you may know,
Yeah,
she was saying, it's also important to be that model to your daughter,
of
where it's
course.
like, mom has to go kill it.
Yeah.
And sometimes, when you watch March of the Penguins and you're like, where are the mommies going? They're leaving the daddies with the eggs.
I know, right? I mean, that's really one of the only.
Can we call this episode March of the Penguins? I think
It's
that's
the
a good
March of the Penguins. It is. And I mean, yeah, I'm happy that they get to see that and they know, because they don't understand. They're like, why do you have to go to work? I'm like, you see our house, you see the food, you see the clothes. Like you go to
right.
school, I pay for school, like everything we have to pay for.
Do you see that security guard at the end of the driveway? Oh, wait, no, that's Prince Harry. Sorry, I was thinking something else. All right.
Oh my
I
God.
am going to surround you with all the love that I can and
Oh,
send you wishes. I'm going to talk to uh, all my security people that I have around
talk
me.
to all your security people.
Yeah, I'm going to
I'll
talk to
talk to
my
all
team.
mine.
I'm going to talk to my team about getting my son picked up from his tutoring class. Actually, it's just down the street. I walk.
Oh, you walk there. How nice.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
really nice. Look,
so he could
now that
technically walk home. He's
now
10.
that I live in Austin, Texas, it's fantastic. You just walk everywhere. All right,
I know. I should.
Alex Breckenridge.
I, well,
Um,
thanks for
please, please come
chatting.
back. Please come back and do more pulling of the thread.
I'm here. I'm happy. I'm happy